Looking pretty cool there, Steve. No, we've got sunglasses on. Actually, the lights are pretty bright here in the studio, and I understand they have UV in here as well, a small amount of UV, so maybe we should actually keep our glasses on, but we won't. We're not trying to look cool or anything like that. But we just want to highlight the importance of wearing sunglasses to protect our eyes from UV.
Yeah, that's right, protect them from harmful ultraviolet rays. Research has shown that UV-related eye diseases are among the top causes of vision impairment or blindness, and every day we're exposed to them via the sun or artificial light sources like your mobile phone or computer, as Yvonne was saying earlier.
Yeah, you'd be quite surprised. The key is to protect our eyes from the effects of the sun's radiation. For best practices on that, let's speak to optometrist Shirley Lowe. Good morning. Thank you for coming in today, Shirley.
Thank you, Yvonne.
First things first, exactly how harmful are the sun's UV rays on our eyes?
The sun's rays are harmful to everyone, children, adults, and the point is, if we are going to go outside, we're going to get exposure to UV. It's going to be accumulated over one's lifetime.
Okay, we talked a bit earlier, well, Yvonne mentioned it as well, about computer screens, indoor lighting, that kind of thing. Is that negligible? That's like nothing compared to the sun.
It is negligible, but you'd be surprised. We get UV exposure from interesting sources like reflected light, peripheral rays. So even wearing sunglasses may not be a complete protection for our eyes.
Okay, so how much is too much exposure? When you're talking about cumulative as well, it's hard to calculate, isn't it? Like how often should we be wearing sunglasses every day when we go outside?
Personally, I do. And look, we're coming towards summer in Singapore. It's getting hotter. UV is going to be high. But in fact, according to the World Health Organization, in 11 months out of 12 months of the year, it's extreme UV in Singapore because we live in the tropics. So really, it's a year-round preventative cause.
Okay, so what are the effects then of UV rays, of having too much UV rays sort of shining on our eyes?
It can range from sunburn of the eyes, which is called photokeratitis, which we may have experienced if we've ever been at the beach for a day and we didn't wear our sunglasses and our eyes are really sore and gritty and dry afterwards. But the long-term effects can range from what we call pinguicula or pterygium. Now that's a funny word, but it means a lump on the eye, which actually is quite unsightly. And then there are contributions to cataract, and the leading cause of blindness in developed countries like Singapore, which is age-related macular degeneration.
Oh, so okay, so it takes effect on us in our later years if we have too much exposure throughout our lives. Okay.
So it's one of those things that we don't think about when we're young.
Because you don't really suffer any symptoms either, do you?
Most part we don't, and this is something as optometrists we can see when we look through our special equipment and machinery, and that's why we'd like everyone to get the message UV protection is really important.
And maybe to get our eyes checked every so often to make sure. Now when you say UV protection, what should we be doing? For instance, wearing sunglasses, what kind of sunglasses should we be wearing? For how long?
Sure, well fortunately there are a range of vision correction options that we can easily protect from UV, and when it comes to sunglasses, having a wraparound pair that covers as much of the face and eyes as possible, having a hat when you're outside, and even contact lenses can provide UV protection, and a lot of people don't know that, but not all of them do.
Is that like a specific, I didn't know that at all about contact lenses. I used to wear them before, but they actually have specific ones for UV protection? They
do. So there are some contact lenses with internationally recognized standards of UV protection, which cover up to 100% of UVB and 97% of UVA. So really, we're looking for the right standard of UV protection in our sunglasses, just like we do with our skincare.
Okay, let's bust some myths here. Some people think because of these issues they won't work so hard to protect their eyes. For example, you don't need sunglasses on a cloudy day. Is that true or false?
Again, not true. UV rays come through the clouds, they get reflected by the clouds and reflected again off those surfaces, concrete, glass. So definitely sunglasses whenever you're outside.
Okay, the other one, noon is the worst time of the day to be out and about, but it's not really, is it?
Well, actually, there is a peak of UV, and it is around that 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. mark. But again, UV does exist every time we're outside in the day.
And that's when Patrick was playing hockey, as we found out earlier, in midday sun. Another one, darker sunglasses offer more protection. Is that correct?
No. So we do have to look for, again, sunglasses and contact lenses with the right UV protection, and it's best to talk to an eye care professional about that because they can recommend the right product for you.
Well, we know that darker skinned person tends to be less likely to get I guess skin cancer or be affected by UV rays. Is that true for dark-eyed people as opposed to lighter-eyed?
There's some evidence to suggest that may be the case, but then again there are many factors when it comes to eyes. For example, the size of the pupil can allow more light and UV into the back of the eye. So even children, for example, can be quite susceptible to UV damage.
Well, speaking of children, you said that we should get protection early, so should children be wearing sunglasses whenever they go outside?
I do believe that's something that we should be recommending.
Because sometimes you see kids outside with sunglasses and you think, yeah, okay, they're trying to look cool. but actually it's something we should be seriously looking at.
As a parent, I think that's something to consider, especially since we're all living longer lives now. We want to be able to see well when we're 60, 70, 80 years old.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, tell us what are the best kind of sunglasses actually that we can look for? You were talking about wraparound before, but are there any other specific types we should look out for that offer the best protection against the sun?
I guess buying them from a reputable source to make sure that they're of a certain standard. And in Singapore, I believe there are controls on that. But again, to know where you're buying your product from. And when it comes to contact lenses, it's something that you can ask your eye care professional and they will be able to advise you.
Are there UV ratings? A bit like, you know, when you have sun cream, they have factor of 50, factor 80 or 20, depending on how strong you want it. Does the same thing apply to sunglasses?
Well, there are different factors. For example, EPF, which stands for eye protection factor, and EPF of 10 is something that people can look for. And with contact lenses, it's class 1, which is the highest, and class 2, which covers the majority of UV radiation.
And is it different across different countries? Here in Singapore, it's quite sunny quite a lot of the time, but we know, like when it comes to skin diseases and things like that, Australia is particularly susceptible. Does it range then around the world?
There are some universal standards that occur, and luckily in Singapore, the sunglasses that are in the retail shops do meet those standards because there are controls here.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, now artificial light, we were saying before, we don't need to be too worried about it, but at the same time you don't want to be spending too much. How much is too much time in front of the TV or computer screen to be getting not so great effects in terms of your eyes?
I think it's all about a balanced lifestyle, and when we're doing a lot of these activities, we're using our eyes a lot. They're getting eye strain, which is particularly more important for children. So there's no really maximum time, but it's about making sure we get adequate rest for our eyes and adequate moisture. And if we're not blinking enough, we might not getting enough moisture on our eyes, and that can cause dry eye.
Can you actually wear glasses to protect your eyes from artificial light?
Or if you're indoors, I suppose it looks a bit like we did earlier, look a bit silly wearing sunglasses indoors.
Yeah, but do people actually wear those?
There are some lenses available, but actually it's the outdoor light that really is the most damaging. The indoor light is fairly negligible when we're talking about the eyes.
Okay, thank you for some wonderful tips there on how to protect our eyes from the UV. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Yvonne.
Shirley Lowe, an optometrist, on how you can protect your eyes from the harmful effects of UV rays.
Well, that is a wrap for AM Live today, the 24th of March. It is a Monday. Join us again tomorrow, Tuesday. We'll have your regular news updates.
That's right, we're heading to the theatre and the cinema as well and previewing some of the latest shows on offer. See you tomorrow.
See you then.